Greetings, travelers. Welcome to another unholy video where I talk about Final Fantasy XIV. Most people who watch my content are probably already well acquainted with the game and have progressed through most of it. In case it is not obvious enough, this video will contain spoilers for the entire main scenario quest, because I'm going to randomly throw in some modern spoilers, despite not talking about anything from the expansions. I originally wanted to talk about the entire main scenario story, but quickly realized I have a lot to say about A Realm Reborn, so let's do this. I begin by saying that A Realm Reborn is awful. Okay, now wait just a second, I'm not finished. As most people know, when Final Fantasy XIV originally came out, it was a complete disaster. 1.0 was riddled with bugs, clunky interfaces, and questionable at best game design. Square Enix was left with little options other than to burn the game to the ground and make a whole new game on the ashes. The man who single-handedly carried out this unscrupulous task was Naoki Yoshida. And while A Realm Reborn is a massive improvement over the original release, that doesn't mean it is perfect in any way, shape, or form. ARR is an era of the modern FF14 that we know today, back when they were completely unsure what the identity of this game was. An era marked with experimentation, imbalance, cross-classing, and annoying story quests. Obviously, I don't really blame the dev team for what they came up with, given that most of the content was 1.0 gameplay rehashed together into some kind of amalgamation that ended up being cohesive enough to revive the game. But I'm not going to talk about the old days too much. Instead, I'm talking about the motherfucking scenario quest. The MFSQ of ARR will make you wish for another Umbral Calamity. A journey of dungeons that have annoying mechanics and an unprecedented, indefinite amount of fetch quests. After listening to our most recent Ashian talking about destroying the whole world and himself, he probably just snapped after being told, "Pray return to the Waking Sands" one too many times. And that's after they removed a bunch of the filler from the story. Of course, when mentioning the Waking Sands, that's actually talking about the patch quest. So let's back up a little bit and talk about the story up until 50. It pretty much goes like this. Random adventurer, you, strolls into one of 3 major cities. You will quickly get involved with the local questing system and eventually do enough good deeds to catch the attention of certain special individuals. After you build up enough reputation, you are invited to join the most elite gamers in the land, the Scions of the Seventh Dawn. But now you have to decide which grand company you want to join. These 2 twins, one of who is cute and the other is Alize, tell you about how each grand company operates. Each one of them claim to stand for something righteous, but they're actually not as great as they appear. That one over there, they say that they're all about humanity, but they actually murder kittens in their free time, so you better think about that one. Oh, that one over there, they like to make YouTube content, but they always ask you to subscribe in any video. There is no joke here, you better do it. So you pretty much just think, do I want to join the grand company with the big strong man, the big mommy GF, or the old lady? Well, I chose the big man. You figure they put a ton of time into this story-wise, so there must be some serious consequences to which company you choose, and you can switch at any time. This system is completely left in the dust and holds no relevance to the story whatsoever. The only reason you join a grand company is to get a license to be able to dress up as a snowman and fly around. You proceed to do some more tasks, make a meal for a character who is never going to appear again, and then you experience the Great Culling, where everyone who is not a main character in the Scions is murdered by cloves of garlic. You then get real sad and go to a church where you meet an amnesiac Sid the Kid. We now morbidly carry around some bodies and bury them, do more nonsense in Coldland. Maybe this guy is important. All the while you have randomly been slaying primals. Did I mention that's what you do? We have to stop the primals. And also, the Empire is invading us. The Empire has the ultimate weapon, which eats a few primals and is very intimidating. Trust me, it's real scary. Useless Leader was unfortunately not culled in the Great Culling and is kidnapped instead. We have to break them out, and now we are finally at the actual plot of the game. Yeah, that's right. Everything up until about a little bit before Castrum Meridianum was just set up for the actual story of the game. The only thing that matters at this point is that the city-states exist. The grand companies exist, the Scions exist, the Empire exists, primals need to be slain, and you are the biggest Chad in the universe because a weird crystal lady picked you to be the next warrior of light. You are now ready for the most difficult trial in Final Fantasy XIV, Cape Westwind. The amount of time it takes for a new player to watch this cutscene is infinitely longer than the actual duty. Now that that irrelevant villain is defeated who no one cared about, let's look at the 2 most absurd dungeons in the entire game. Welcome to Main Scenario Roulette. If you've tried leveling classes before, this roulette is probably always in the back of your mind. The rewards are pretty insane considering the amount of effort required is basically nothing. But we will start in plot order and talk about the one that requires the most least effort. Castrum Meridianum is about destroying a Garlean base. The only thing that's fun in this dungeon is being a tank and pulling every single thing in sight. If you're a new healer, trust me, when you see this pull, your little fucking nuts are gonna start quaking, buddy. We then have a million cutscenes about breaking into this base while you wonder if your party will disable the searchlights. Eventually you blow up some ceruleum pumps. Make sure to stun this boss at 80% and 65%. But then, the scariest person in all the land, Livia von Who Cares, shows up. After talking about how much she wants to marry Gaius, she then uses her invincible technology right in range of the only thing that could stop her. After defeating her mech that she could have easily destroyed us with, that the cannons were just simply not in range, we then all gang up on her while her colleagues just watch. I thought you said all this was plot relevant. Well, it is, because now you have access to the Praetorium, the real plot. This single instance will have you wondering if you ever get to play the game. 29 minutes of raw cutscenes. You pretty much just have to watch some anime on the side. Thankfully, it's a pretty good season right now, so it is a good time to catch up on Yudu Camp if you have not already watched it. It's a great show, incredibly relaxed and comfy with solid information about camping. Great if you just want to imagine the outdoors in the comfort of your own room. Now, these cutscenes are super story important, right? Right? Man, really? Nah, they really are not. Nero just talks about how much he loves Sid. Gaius says, "Hey Sid, join me, and together we can rule the city." But the real reason that you suffer through this is for the optimization strats. You can, in fact, interact with many things by mashing numpad 0 on PC. Most interactables can be grabbed from surprisingly far away, and you can cancel your fire animation on the mech with proper mouse movement for faster speeds. And stand right here to not get walked away from arms. Now we listen to Gaius ask for who do I fight for. Thankfully, I already know my answer. Now the ultimate weapon spawns, and we have to punch it enough for it to not die, only for not Thancred to step in and devastate beyond Gaius' intent. After defeating the ultimate weapon, not Thancred shows up again, and we get another scene to be memed to death. Alright, we destroyed the ultimate weapon. What's the next step of your master plan?
Destroying this facility. With no survivors!
Only for La Habrea to be the most pathetic boss after Cape Westwind. Yippee! Achievement unlocked, you can now fly in Eorzea. Now you get to the patches. Everything can be summarized as follows. More beast tribes summon primals. City-states are upset about those primals. It's time to go kill some primals. At some point, a Blue Grand Company shows up. Hopefully, they do not get disbanded immediately. Alphino does the entire player base a service that goes beyond anything ever done in the history of the storyline, and moves the headquarters of the Scions to an Aetheryte. And then he decides that the best course of action afterwards is to be depressed. Merleweb shows us that a Machinist can dual wield and nothing matters. The only time the plot gets interesting is at the very end, where you defeat capitalism and get blamed for a political coup that anyone with more than 2 functioning brain cells could tell that you were not responsible for. Thus, you flee to Ishgard thanks to the help of that man who is important. We did it. We are now at Heavensfeel. Now you might ask, did anything actually happen in A Realm Reborn? Well, yes. To summarize, you are a hero. Everyone loves you. Capitalism is probably bad. Primals are bad. Ashians are certainly bad. And this guy is good. And this lady is also good. Overall, 3 chocobos out of 10. ARR is where the modern game got its footing, but holy moly, you are seriously just doing chores for hours on end. The story does thankfully pick up from there, so I can't wait to talk about the best arc from Fate Stay Night. A Realm Reborn is a ton of setup for the universe, but it is so oversaturated with fetch quests and characters who have no relevance that you start to question a lot of it. I will say that the rest of the story is so much better, so that's why ARR sticks out so much when looking at the game nowadays. I can understand some people liking it, but it's pretty unfun if you ask me. That's all I have for this one. Now let's get out there and work on the any% no exploit speedrun of Praetorium.